So, Deepesh, could you please share about your early career and any particular point, which could be any assignment, decision, or maybe another individual whose influence got you started on your leadership journey, Deepesh?
Oh, thank you, Ayon. Kind words. Thank you very much. Clearly those early formative days, they led to what happened after that. I actually started as an application slash sales engineer many years back. It's been 28, 29 years back. And the turning point in my career was actually an assignment that was given to me in those early days, the first few years of my career. It was an extremely challenging assignment to handle the energy sector in the western part of India in Gujarat. Gujarat was just opening up both in the oil and gas business, the refinery business, the petrochemical business, and then the power plants. The challenge that I took up was one where the market share of the company was very, very small. We had huge competition. And that journey taught me the importance of decisiveness, customer focus, solving problems, and then delivering results. When I look back, I think that kind of became my philosophy of leadership. A mentor back then also was instrumental in letting me know and kind of trained me in the art of being confident, but more important, the importance of integrity in everything that you do. Over the years, I've kind of maintained this as my philosophy to be extremely decisive in what I do, to be laser focused when it comes to customers, understand their needs, to solve their problems, and results. Results do matter. And you do all of this with an element of integrity. Nothing should stop you from going where you want to go.
So I want to start, with an industry view for this conversation and your current assignment, because we know that the world is watching India as our country demonstrates strong intent and visible steps towards our net zero commitment under the present government, and which is very commendable, the work that's been done. So we would like to understand from you as a leader in the forefront, your message to our viewers, how India as a country is faring as compared to the rest of the world in our commitment to net zero. And secondly, these are two-part questions. And the second part is, how is Tata Power Renewable Energy Limited, your organization, and you are one of the most respected organizations in this space in India. How are you leading from the front?
So India is clearly at an inflection point when it comes to energy transition. The transition is real and it's happening at a pace that one imagined. If you zoom out a little bit and if you look at the Asia context, Asia is a very compelling continent, and the macroeconomics of Asia are fantastic in terms of the diversity that it offers for you to analyze Asia. At one level, you have part of Asia, which is Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. Each of them, they have a GDP per capita of anywhere between 40,000 to 50,000 US dollars. You have China, which is in the range of $12,000 to $15,000. Then you have Australia, around $10,000. Then you have Malaysia, you have Indonesia, Thailand, $8,000. Then you have South Asia, which is India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, $2,500. That kind of spells opportunity in terms of where this economy will grow. So if the energy transition is real, which is what we believe it is, and there are tangible results for us to measure, the growth prospect of this sector is phenomenal. At Tata Power, we have three clusters. So we have a generation business where we have a conventional businesses, which is the thermal business and the hydro business. We have transmission and distribution. We distribute electricity in Mumbai, in Delhi, of Orissa. And then we have the renewables business, which I run. In the renewables business, the way we have configured ourselves is that we have a generation portfolio within renewables. So we are a large genco. We have an install base of 5 gigawatt. We are building another 5 as we speak. We have an EPC company that builds large-scale solar plants. We have a huge backlog, close to $2.5 billion. Then we have a manufacturing business, large-scale manufacturing. We've just commissioned a massive 4.3 gigawatt scale cell and module manufacturing plant in Tamil Nadu. Total capacity across 2 locations, one in Bangalore and one in Tamil Nadu, is almost 5 gigawatt of localized manufacturing of cell technology, which is not that easy. And then also modules, and we make the entire range. Then we have the corporate PPA business. So any industry that wants to go green in the joint venture model, as how the Indian government has defined, the off-taker takes an investment and gets a rebate. That's a thriving business. There's a lot of in-house Tata demand for companies like Tata Steel, Tata Motors, and so on. All that gets taken care of within that vertical. Then we have a business which was new to me, but it's a fantastic business, which is rooftop solar. We are the largest in the country when it comes to rooftop solar. We play the end-to-end game of not just supply, but we install, commission, maintain. We have a huge market share. We are like 25, 26% market share. And that business has a lot of tailwind just thanks to the policies of the Indian government. And lastly, we are also in the business of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Again, we're the largest in the country. In fact, yesterday, we just announced that we have hit 100,000 chargers across the country.
Wow.
So these six businesses come together as Tata Power Renewable Energy Limited. We have BlackRock as an investor in the company. Fantastic business. In the next 3 years, we should be in the range of 12 to 15 gigawatt as a Genco. And all the signs of us accelerating the energy transition. So the difference, between many in the industry and what I've seen here at Tata Power is that we not only set the ambitious targets, but there is massive focus on execution. And I think that's what sets us apart in terms of actually delivering everyday results. So we are constructing at a rate of 15 megawatts of capacity is being built out every day at Tata Power.
What is your advice? How do middle managers need to work on themselves if they aspire to get to a corner office in an intensely competitive, multicultural environment?
And a few examples of tough, challenging that have come my way. As an example, to motivate middle managers to embrace tough and challenging assignments. The elements of hard work and dexterity need to be tested. And you need to convince yourself that you have the capability to compete at the highest level of competition in an assignment which is extremely tough and challenging. Something that you've done, when we went to Bangladesh. I know John Flannery, one fine afternoon, was mentioning that, look, the India gas market has dried up. Why don't you look at Bangladesh? I was a little concerned that, are these guys shifting me to Dhaka? And I'd never been to Bangladesh. So he said, no, this is an add-on responsibility. Why don't you look at Bangladesh? I wanted to stay at a particular place in Bangladesh. Naushad Ali, who had just been hired back then, advised Yamini to book me elsewhere. And then I said, no, I'll be early for my meeting. I'll kind of start early for the meeting. I was so late. I was late by 2 hours for that meeting. And that kind of, again, gave me the impression that, look, the growth prospects in this country are fantastic. One thing led to another. You guys had set the base for the growth, which lasted till around 2015. So we did 2015. Again, uncertainty knocks at our doors. Bangladesh also runs out of natural gas. It was then that we had the gumption to go back to General Electric and say that, can we go and participate in an FSRU business, which is completely outside the domain of the work that we did. You also need leadership backing, but that leadership backing is given to a functional leader or a middle management leader, as long as they see that, look, there is somebody who is willing to take the responsibility. There is somebody who is willing to get into the details and to make sure that they have looked at every possible angle to keep the business safe and to make the business profitable, and to do it within a finite span of time. So when we went down and explained that, we take an equity position, we get a big partner to take the balance equity position, we get an FSRU in the country, it is on a lease basis, it is completely back-ended by a contract from the Bangladesh government, there is a sovereign guarantee, there are no records of any default, the management starts believing. But to get to that point, it calls for a lot of hard work. It calls for immense hard work, a lot of networking, the kind of trips that we would have made there, and the kind of partnerships that we would have built. And this ability to make things happen is extremely important. All this happens once you have an element of positivity and optimism. You might be as wrong as a pessimist, but you're far happier as you keep executing. And then once you take it through the process, right, leadership wants to hear from middle management leaders a convincing story, right? And that's a function of how well you've prepared. And that's a function of how hard you worked at it. One thing led to another. Management was convinced that these guys will do a good job. We got the approvals. We made an investment in an FSRU, which was completely outside G's domain. What then later became the first gas to power project. There were a few other examples, like how we did the gasification project. Or for that matter, now here in Tata Power, we're trying to participate in complex tenders where we will replace a thermal electron 1:1. And the load curve that's been given today, we have the ability to replicate the exact load curve with a combination of wind, solar, batteries. And once you do this, Management is looking for a convincing answer. That what's the diligence with which you've gone about it? Have you taken care of the technology? Have you looked at the contingencies that you park? Have you looked at what's the financing cost? Have you addressed, the risk parameters? And at the end of it, does it meet the returns requirements of the company? If it does, then you will get the backing. After that, it's ruthless execution. Again, another mentor of mine, now in GE, uh, kept telling me that, look, it's all about execution. You should get three things right. This was John Rice, actually. He said that, look, when it comes to execution, number one, you should make sure that you deliver every project at performance or better, on time or earlier, and at cost or lower. If you have these three parameters, everything else will cascade within these three parameters. But the power plant should meet the performance or exceed. It should be on time or it should be earlier, and it should be at cost or lesser. And then later comes Larry Culp, who ingrained the lessons of lean management like nobody else could have done. I owe a lot to that phase of my career to Larry and Scott, where GE leaders went through training on lean. You were with GE, so you can reflect on that entire analysis of leader standard work or SQDC. That when you transition roles, a few things stay with you. One of them that stays with you is that process rigor with which GE kind of came out of the situation which they had found themselves in, thanks to Larry. So I'd say that for middle management leaders, be ambitious, be hardworking, take up tough and challenging assignments. That will be the differentiating factor between you and the rest.
How does someone manage to navigate a career by staying apolitical and also by staying authentic?
Need to be laser focused on the work that you do. Very early in my career, I found myself busy at work, and I used to enjoy being busy at work. I used to get feedback from my office colleagues that why don't you take some time off? But then the excitement of delivering results was so high that there just wasn't time available to gossip, hobnob. Just no time. I mean, I would advise youngsters and everybody else listening to this, is that if you back yourself up with genuine work and if you're laser focused at the assignment at hand, listen, there's just one opportunity out there, right? You have signed up for this assignment or the assignment that you're doing. And then what better than giving it your best? But it actually ends up also spoiling your reading habit, because each time you read, now you're looking for a question. But that phase of life was fantastic. I think that helped me balance the tough part of the work that was happening there and all the results that you had to achieve. And then it would immediately switch to me going out for a quiz contest with another colleague of mine,
Sure.
broaden the horizons of what to do. And that continued in life. I love music like many of us do. I love to watch movies like many of us do.
What's your advice to leaders to prevent burnout, physical and mental?
Have a balanced life. I mean, again, sounds like a very obvious thing, but then work hard. I think uh, this might be a little controversial for me to say, but burnouts are a function of boredom. If you're interested in what you do, you will take care of yourself from the burnout perspective, because if you're successful, you will find ways and means to make sure. There are two types of stresses, and I'm actually thinking on my feet. One is that you put in effort, a lot of effort, and the result is negative. That's the burnout part. The other is that you put in a lot of effort, and then the outcome is positive. Less burnout or no burnout. The more you do the latter, the more successful you are, the less burnout that happens. And then, of course, have take some time out, because you will get perspective, right? In India, we seldom do that. In I do take at least two short vacations. One half, the first half, I take a vacation, and then maybe do a overseas vacation in the second half. But even when I'm on vacation, I must confess there's this urge to come back. But at least that little break gives you perspective, and you sharpen the axe and then come back. But I'd say that for me, it's always been about work, and I have health as well, right? I mean, keep a focus on health. I learned it the hard way, the importance of getting a good 8 hours night's rest. Did a lot of reading. I used to weigh like 99 kgs just 2 years back. I'm 78 today. And that was a very conscious way on. I did a lot of reading again as to what it takes for you to maintain your weight. Yoga, right? Again, may sound something which is obvious to do, but then just push yourself into a routine. I think the importance of a routine can never be overemphasized. Be it your habits when it comes to reading, how you consume information, the kind of material you read, the books that you read, the kind of exercise regime that you have. Uh, I'll re-emphasize your sleep pattern, what you eat, how much you eat. I think just making sure that you don't run out of willpower, right? Willpower, they say, to some extent is a constant. So you got to be careful on what you exert your willpower at, because at the end of the day, when the willpower is diminished, you may not want to do a few things because you just don't have that willpower. But the very awareness that, look, willpower is a constant, and then everything is, I mean, at times it's you on how you want to design things around you, how much effort you want to take. If you keep doing that day in and day out relentlessly, which was my journey on the weight reduction part. I actually put up a whiteboard in front of my dining table and with a date and my weight, and my kids would laugh at it because the weight doesn't come down overnight. It takes a while to come down, but there is a process to it. Uh, so I'd say once you look at these different facets of your life, uh, the burnout is manageable.
If you would ever write an autobiography, what would you call it?
Ah, I haven't thought about it. If I write an autobiography, what will, once I'm at loss for words, uh, I'd probably say serendipity,
Wow.
because many things in life, uh, it don't happen in a programmatic way, that
Correct.
everything has been aligned and you do this and that's the result.
Okay.
There have been moments in my life where it just so happened, right? There was there was a management presentation that I made as a very young manager, where it was a two-member team, and my partner decided not to join the presentation in the 11th hour. And that was an era when we used to
This
use
was in Tyco before GE or?
Tyco. This was in Tyco.
Okay.
And I was a young manager, just 5, 6 years into my career. Big management presentation. I'd got the break. It was on how to make the company a world-class company. We had burnt the midnight oil. We'd really prepared hard. And then there was an issue with my fellow colleague who couldn't make it to the presentation venue. And I had to go solo that day. But then I had people there to help me out with things. It gave me a different air of confidence that I'm alone. That was one moment that kind of changed many things. That matter, but many of those occasions when I would be with colleagues in GE at the 7A office, and we would just solve things and move ahead. A few things have happened with me since I've joined Tata Power as well. The first week at work, the team comes and we discuss about opportunities and how we took them forward, or the manufacturing setup that we have and how we keep challenging ourselves. But that element of serendipity is definitely there. So,
Fantastic. Fantastic. What are the key leadership qualities that you believe are essential for driving innovation?
um, and I can say, when you look at innovation, look at elements that contribute towards utilizing technology towards making a huge difference in the outcome of that business result. At times, I feel that innovation is kind of talked more about than what you do about innovation. Once you look at innovation from the prism of actual business results, which is a big gap, people approach for approvals on budgets that, look, this is the money that we will spend on innovation, but without having an eye on how you convert that into a market opportunity, right? So looking at innovation from a market opportunity perspective is extremely important. The other is that push your organizations to look at innovation as a business driver. At times it's a check the box kind of a thing that look, we're looking
Yep.
at it's happening a little bit with AI these days. But
Yep.
then we owe the responsibility that when you're looking at innovation, when you're looking at new technology, I think very quickly we should start looking at what will that translate in terms of business outcomes. If that equation is established clearly, then I think the direction is right. And once the direction is right, accelerate, execute it in a time bound manner. One thing that we haven't discussed enough is the element of being timely in the decision making that you do. Business outcomes connected with innovation in a timely manner, I think is the way to go.
Perfect. Yeah. Execution is the key word. What are some strategies you use to stay updated with the latest trends and technologies in the renewable energy sector?
There is enough material out there for you to read. And the consistency with which you keep in touch with technology is important. I kind of spend the first hour in the morning easily, to catch up with what's happening around me. If I don't do that any particular day, which has seldom happened, then I feel that it's a bad start to my day.
What do you read typically?
I have a full set of reading material that is on an ongoing running basis that I read. I never miss The Economist. I always read The Economist. I begin with the opening brief that The Economist gives you till the letters to the editors. Then I skip the country briefings unless it's a topic of interest on India or a country where there is news out there that I want to go deeper into, and I switch to the business section. I do all of business, I do all of finance, and I do a little bit of culture. Now, it takes me exactly 7 days to probably reach the culture part of that week's Economist, and then the next week starts. So that's something that I've done for the last maybe 15 years or so. I also subscribe to the Financial Times, and I don't let my Financial Times, if I've not read it, it's lying at my office or my home for me to catch up on that. There is one book that I read every day. So I would read like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 pages every day. There was a time that I used to do 30 books a day, a year, but then depending on the time. So what I'm reading currently is Shift. This is a book on how Nissan and Renault got together. And I'm reading this just given the context of my current position in the organization. And I think that book is an amazing book. It's actually a reread. I also read the complete book on lean once again, lean transformation, before I embarked on this journey of mine with Tata Power. Technology is the question. So within The Economist and the Financial Times, there is a section on renewable energy. And today, with the kind of devices that you have, you can easily filter out the information that you want. Be careful about your time. You can lose your time on the internet. You can lose your life on the internet. So as curated as you can get, and as sharp you can get with the time that you allot to what type of reading that you do, that will take care of you being abreast with what's happening around you.
Do you also listen to podcasts when you're walking or running or whatever?
I,
Or is
I
it Shah Rukh Khan songs?
Of late, it's this guy called Anuv Jain. I don't know if you've heard Anuv Jain.
Mhm.
Anuv Jain is single solo songs with just a guitar. Fantastic. If you haven't heard Anuv
Oh,
Jain,
I'll check it out. Okay, I haven't. I'll check it out. Thanks.
I do a lot of Audible, right?
Audible. I know.
But I do Audible only when I am in a situation where I can't hold a book.
Sure.
Because I like to read books in my own voice, unlike the voice that's fed into my ear. So I don't do Audible. So I would do an Audible if there's a long airport queue. I would just put on Audible because I have my luggage, but I'm still trying to be as productive as I can. So that urge to maximize, I think that's been there. There's a good side to it and there's a bad side to it. But I look at it as a good side. And at times I also question myself that, hey, do you want to take a break? And the answer is no, because you really want to catch up with as much as you can and to stay live and to stay current. The only downside to that is that you'll end up being very boring company because you end up picking up so much of information that in conversations you'll end up talking about what you've read, what you've heard. Do you know this? Do you know that? So just be careful about that.
What role does digital transformation play in the renewable energy sector, and how is Tata Power adapting to these changes?
Digital massive. I think it's all about digital actually. All these devices come together in a platform where there's enormous amount of modeling that goes into how you design your plants to meet that load curve. When it comes to manufacturing, we have this huge manufacturing plant where we have a digital twin that maps all the manufacturing processes. It's a high automation plant. We're also using AI. So these days, when you get a 500,000 page tender, we process the tender through an AI tool, which tells us all the key elements of the tender and so on. So digital today is, a very front and center thing of any organization. For you to be at the cutting edge of digital is something that goes without saying. But again, as young leaders, insist on what value you'll drive from going digital and keep emphasizing, right, the need for going digital. The more you do, the better for the business.
And implementing and adapting it into real business scenario is very important, because we've seen when digital for the sake of digital doesn't always work, because it becomes a fad. And what you just said, that very very practical example, like adapting it to reading a 500 page tender and stuff like that, that's where we have to leverage that. So the next questions, I need to move in.
Yeah, I'll just be very quick on the digital piece. There are also a few tools that we use in our daily lives that can be put to good use, for business. Like, for example, in any organization, there's a hierarchy, right? You can use digital to address issues that somebody who is in the middle of the hierarchy is today wanting to express something to the senior hierarchy. The digital tools can help you eliminate the hierarchy to a large extent. As an example, we have like 45 projects ongoing in India currently, different parts of the country. We have an employee strength of 12,000 people. We have 5,000 people on our rolls, and the balance are on contract. Now, how do you make sure that the entire organization is pulling in the same direction, right, when it comes to the execution of a project, right from engineering to supply chain to, manufacturing, execution, construction? All of us need to come together to execute a project. And hence, what we've done is that we've got secure WhatsApp groups where everybody gets information at the same time. So for every project, we might have those 35, 40 people across the hierarchy who get real-time information on what's happening on that project. And you don't have to wait for an email that's copied only to a few people, and then you forget copying somebody. You have to forward an email, or there's this element that you're hesitant that should I copy my manager's manager or not. All that is completely eliminated through a simple WhatsApp group. What happens with information security? Answer that question upfront. Get your IT leaders involved. Let them know that you're doing this. Let them know that it has to be end-to-end, encrypted, purely, completely secure. There's no information leakage. Because at times, a few digital tools are discouraged because of the issue of security. It's real that there are hackers out there, but get your IT folks involved, right? And end up using the technology rather than not using it.
In terms of energy storage to complement renewable energy sources?
Energy storage is a fascinating area. I think battery energy storage is fascinating. All the technology and chemistry around the cathode is fascinating. And I use the word fascinating because of the cost curve, right? In 2022, the cost of electricity in terms of cost of storage was like 20 rupees per kilowatt hour. In 2023, that came down to like 12 rupees per kilowatt hour. In 2024, we executed a contract for SECI in Chhattisgarh, 120 megawatt, 2 hours, 240 megawatt hours at 7 rupees and 10 paise kilowatt hour. In 2024 now, we've seen two tenders from the Gujarat government, one which was won at 4 rupees and 38 paise. And recently, in the month of June, the last tender was won at 3 rupees and 60 paise or 3 rupees and 68 paise. So look at the cost curve. You talk of Moore's law, this kind of defies even Moore's law. And it's real. So I think battery storage is here to stay. There's a shift in the technology, and I think technology will keep advancing. We use LFP today. So I'd say that there's no particular challenge when it comes to the use of battery technology, other than a potential supply chain challenge that could be from China. But having said that, I was there in China last month, and they have built their factories to export. So they'll always be there in the market to make material available. We should embark on this opportunity, and we should have battery storage to complement wind and solar. and offer the lowest cost of electricity, increase the PLF. So if you have a problem statement that how can you give, high megawatt electricity at high PLF at a cost, all green, zero carbon, I think battery energy storage plays a huge role in this. And then after that, you have pumped hydro. So if you want long duration, then it's pumped hydro. Tata Power has announced that we are investing in a 1.8 gigawatt pumped hydro storage plant. So anything above 4 hours, is pumped hydro. But I'm really excited with what we are seeing in the battery energy storage world.
So thank you for being on the show, and thanks to the viewers for taking time to join us. And all the best, Deepesh, to you and Tata Power team. Thank you.